Hi everybody, we're the Consulting and Strategy Club of IIM Lucknow, and we're extremely delighted to bring to you a brand new video series called Consult Connect. As a part of this series, we're going to be launching videos leading up to placements, and the idea is to orient you towards consulting and get your prep kickstarted.
So for the first video, we've actually invited 4 IIM alums who are working in top consulting firms. They too at some point in time were in the exact same position as you all are in today. So let's get some first-hand consulting yarn from these consultants.
So jumping right into the set of questions that we wanted to discuss with you. The first question is how you really stumbled upon consulting, and this is open to all of you. What really made you choose consulting over the other domains on campus?
Sure. Okay. Let me start.
Yeah.
So, for me, I had some idea about consulting, before coming to IIM Lucknow also. Not from the experience, but a couple of my friends were in consulting firms, and they have gone through entire process, and they were aware about, what consulting means and what kind of work they do. So I had, some good idea about it. But definitely, when I joined campus, there were all these, discussions with alums from different companies, and people who have had experience through internships in consulting firms. And through those discussions, definitely some of the questions or some of the clarifications which I needed came through. And to your question about how or why did I decide to join or prefer consulting firm as a career option, definitely a couple of things which attracted me were the kind of diversity of work which it provides. And this is the term which you will hear a lot in interaction with people who have had exposure to consulting, is that in these firms, in consulting firms, definitely when you join, you don't have to you are not restricted to any particular domain in terms of either functional or industry, and you get a chance to understand and see upfront what kind of work is being done across industries as well as across function. And definitely another thing which attracted me a lot is the kind of exposure it provides to the leadership in these companies. And frankly, this is something which may not be highlighted enough, but this definitely has a lot of impact on molding your thinking about how these industry leaders think about the problems and what are the way they approach it. Frankly, these were the top two things in for me.
I second what Divakar is saying. So, like to answer that in one line, by the end of 2 years, I was not able to figure out what I wanted actually. So that's the sole reason for me. I'm a fresher, so I passed out 2017 and then 2019 Lucknow. So I had no job experience whatsoever. So and I sat for finals, and I had two options. Rest of them I was able to quickly eliminate. Operations and marketing, those stuff I was not quite interested. It was consulting versus finance was the ultimate decision. And yeah, as Divakar mentioned, if you're going to finance, you are committing yourself to one particular field, which I was not completely convinced that I'm a fin guy, or I had shortlist too, but I was not really convinced that I'm made for fin, or I want to pursue that field in my long-term career. So that's one attractive value prop which consulting gives. It keeps all the doors open for you. So you get to like work for initial 2-3 years and still figure out what you want. And then if you want to continue be an expert and stay in consulting, if not, you exit to the industry and pursue whatever you like. So that was like that's how I like choose consulting over other domains in campus.
I wanted to add a couple of points. So luckily, I was exposed to consulting before I joined campus. My first cousin was into a consulting firm. So I had that kind of exposure of visiting her sometimes over Thursdays or Fridays to enjoy the consulting perks. And then also as a client, I got to interact with consultants because our client was very heavily invested into consultants. Sanjit would know about it. So I think I was lucky enough to get that exposure. And being on the opposite side of the table, I know that being a client, it's easier to say, Ki, this can be done, why don't you do this? But I understand that how much of hard work really goes on the other side to convince the client to make an impact, because it is always easier to say things, but it is very hard to do something and do something up to the satisfaction of the client. So that is how I think I decided that this is one area that I would like to explore. And luckily I got chance to get exposure to this area. Yes, so that's how my encounter with consulting was.
So my story is, I think, also very similar. All of these reasons resonated. I also got to hear about consulting companies and management consulting in undergrad first, right? When some of my seniors were getting placed, and frankly, for the first time when I heard it, it sounded very cool that you could get to work across domains, you could get to travel extensively, you could be doing, you're actually a part of a company, but you are technically going and helping different industries out and just grabbing, learning a 360-degree across domains, across functions. So that sounded very, very cool in the beginning, right? And that was the primary reason which fascinated me to consulting. After undergrad, I got into a technology company, and which was a pure coding research sort of a job, right? And that's when I realized that I did not enjoy that particular field too much, and I wanted to get this whole business exposure, right? So technology and coding, when you're doing that, right, you know what you are doing, but you don't know the bigger picture. You don't know why you're doing that, where it fits in the whole scheme of things, right? Which is why when I came to Lucknow, I was reasonably certain that management consulting is what I want to sort of aim for. And after interacting with some of the seniors on campus who had done their internships, interacting with friends who from undergrad who had gone to consulting, alums who came down to campus during the entire process, that sort of faith in why I wanted to get into consulting sort of got cemented. And I was pretty certain I was preparing for both consulting and finance, but consulting was right up the choice, right? And so I was pretty certain that I wanted to do consulting, and I think all of those reasons around different projects, different industries. To Vijay's point, I would say consulting is probably one sort of profession that gives you maybe more exit options than when you while you're entering consulting. And I think just the diversity of people that you meet, right? You're not restricted to a particular manager or a particular team. You can work across. You can choose to work with the people you want to work with. You can choose to work in the sector you want to work with, what type of clients. You can work with people across geographies, across different states in India. And it just helps fuel my passion around travel also. So that's the primary reason, I think, for me to get into consulting.
Okay, great answers. There was one thing that was common in all your answers, that all of you heard from people who are probably working in the domain or from your seniors that consulting is very cool and it gives you a lot of exposure, etc. So the next question is specifically for Prakriti and Vijay, because you guys are fairly new to the system. So how has consulting exactly lived up to the hype that it has in campus? So all of the experiences that were shared on campus, how would you say that it has lived up to all of them?
I think it totally lives up to the hype that gets created on campus, to be really honest. The first thing because of the hype is because the process starts a little earlier, right? The shortlist get released a month before. But I think it's all part of the process. It's a very structured process when you look at it. You have the shortlist, and you have multiple case workshop rounds or different discussions. So it's a very structured process, and that shows that how much the consultants or the consulting companies are willing to invest into candidates to see if what kind of candidates would really fit, or if the candidate can also make a good judgment about the firm, right? Whether if it's a firm that they really want to choose, they can really make a difference out of the people they interact with when coming on campus, or from the alums, or from all the interactive rounds. So I think it's totally justified, to be honest. And also the case prep that you do during that 1 month, really also helps you to, be prepared for the rest of the firms also, to be really honest, because it gives you a structured thought process. It tells you how to solve a problem. So even if it's a marketing problem, for example, you would know how to solve it, right? So I think it prepares you for a holistic problem.
Yep. So I completely agree with Prakriti. So also why the hype gets created in the campus is because the amount of effort consulting firms put compared to any other firms in campus, the number of touch points we create, and the effort we take to get the right people. That also helps you to understand what you have to expect, right, once you join a consulting firm. So it gives a clear understanding. And after I joined, spent almost 1.5 years now in consulting. So it had like lived up to the hype completely. So what I wanted, as I mentioned earlier, was the exposure. So in last 1.5 years, I got chance to work in 3 different industries so far, and I touched 3 different capabilities as well. Different capability for different industry. That's what I wanted when I wanted to enter consulting. So I had figured out that this is something which I don't want to get into in my long-term career, and something which I'm still open to explore. So that's exactly what I wanted when I got into consulting, and that's exactly what they promise when they come to campus and when they say all these diversity and other factors. And I would certainly say it had lived up to the hype that gets created in the campus. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so the next question that we had is specifically, I think Sanchit and Divakar, you might be able to answer this better since you've spent 3 years in your respective firms. So the question is, what has really kept you going over these 3 years? Because all of us know, being on campus also, that consulting is a taxing job at the end of the day. So what is it that really has kept you going so far?
So typically when students think about consulting, right, and exactly right, when everybody thinks about consulting, it's a very stepwise thing, right? First you think like internship lag jani chahiye, like you should get an internship to consulting, right? And you do the internship. And personally, when I did my internship, content, everything was there, but just the people that you work with is like so amazing. That was the only reason, which propelled, or which, again, formed my belief that I need to join back and continue with consulting, right? It starts off as, Vijay, CP, all of us are discussing, right? It starts off you with me getting exposure to multiple industries, multiple functions, a lot of travel, taking a flight every Monday, Friday, traveling to new cities, weekends in different cities, staying in fancy hotels, all of that, right? Solving cool business problems, solving mundane business problems, traveling to the remotest parts of India and even the world, right? So that sort of is how it starts, right? And typically, I think most people enter with a mindset of 2 years, or I don't know. There is some belief around 2 years is the mark, right? When you get everything around consulting, but like having spent 3.5 years now, I think consulting has a lot to offer, right? While 2 years you get the diversity, you sort of learn how to do first principle structuring, how to think about a problem, how to interact with people, how to build Excel models, how to sort of, communicate your thoughts in an email or in a PowerPoint. But post 2 years is, when you also start to, figure out what sort of people you enjoy working with, what is it that you really like about consulting? Is it just solving business problems? Is it just helping clients, with their scenarios? Is it just nurturing teams? You also sort of, transition from just being responsible for your own work, getting a lot of, exposure from the engagement manager or the project manager, to sort of getting exposure to what others in the team are doing, and then slowly to start leading teams, like to helping your junior colleagues, right? So, and you see that the responsibility, the exposure sort of widens, right? As you're getting deep into one sector, you're still solving different types of problems. One day you're doing cost, the other project you're doing revenue, the third project you're doing strategy. But it's probably limited. It's probably focused in a particular sector, and you're learning different skills in terms of now. For example, I'm getting to lead teams or to manage. To sort of coach consultants who are newer in this journey, right? So then taking the end-to-end view of the projects, really, getting, talking to CXOs, talking to client counterparts. So there is a lot to still, I feel there is still a lot to learn from consulting, which is why, that's kept me going. And I really, really enjoy the whole client interaction part of it.
Yeah, and I completely agree with Sanchit. I think he has incorporated all the aspects in his answer. So, definitely, like, there is never a time that, something new hasn't come, or, there's never a day in which, you'll not be solving something different, or, like, no 2 days are same. I think this is said a lot by the people who have been in consulting, and frankly, I have experienced it a lot. Like every time you are working on something, you can look forward to that. There's something more interesting or something completely new will come up, which will keep your interest alive, and it will not make you feel that okay, bore ho gaya thoda. Like, I've never felt that way. Of course, it gets taxing sometimes, but that's like part and parcel of the job. There's a lot of good things to savor to and look forward to all the time.
And also because Devakar is called partner material in his company. So.
Yeah, like just one example on this, like the diversity thing, right? So one like really aha moment for me was working with the chief marketing officer, not working directly, but yeah, my team was working with him and interacting with him, and he was handling a steel giant, a multinational steel client. And I also worked with a similar marketing head for an IT service vendor. Though they have similar objectives, the way they think about their industry, the way they go ahead and solve the problem, it is going to be very, very different. So once you interact with people from different industry but handling similar roles, like it's something which you will never get anywhere else. Like if you go to industry, you will learn everything about the industry and how things happen in that industry. But that diversity thing is something which I don't think you get in anything else other than consulting. That was something which was really what like kept me going to see more such people. Yeah, go ahead.